Israel causing terror as a state. Israel is a terror state.
Dozens of rockets have been fired at Israel from the Gaza Strip. The barrage comes after Israel launched a series of strikes into Gaza earlier in the day. Israel says it was targeting the Islamic Jihad militant group and was eliminating an imminent threat. The Palestinian authorities say at least 10 people were killed in the strike and dozens more injured.
Israeli forces target an apartment building in Gaza City, just one of many airstrikes launched into the coastal strip.
The origin of the term terror originates from the Latin verb terror, which can be translated as to frighten or to fear. Terrorism is defined as the unlawful use of violence, especially against civilians, in achieving and pursuing political or ideological objectives. It is the intentional use of violence or threat by non-state actors against innocent people with the aim of intimidating them into taking action they would not otherwise take or against their own will. Terrorism is a breakdown in humanity that undermines human rights and the legal system that protects them. What is the terrorist act? A terrorist act is related to an act that is destructive, cruel, illegitimate, illegal, and criminal. A terrorist act is the illegal use of force or violence to indiscriminately scare or oppress the government, target civilians, military facilities, and state officials. It is an act that intends to commit murder or serious injury to the civilians. The attack causes fear to innocent people by using a variety of weapons to target citizens. Terrorist acts can destabilize governments, undermine civil society, jeopardize peace and security, threaten social and academic development, and may especially negatively affect certain communities.
The first characteristic of a terrorist act is a political objective. The definition of political mean is related to the government or public affair of a country, and objective mean aims or goals. The reason why political objectives are one of the characteristics of terrorist act because they have a desire to change the status quo. Status quo means as a Latin phrase meaning the existing state of affair, particularly with regard to social, political, religious, or military issue. In simple definition, we can say that the terrorists want to change their social, political, religious, or military issue. Thus, it means the terrorist political duty is to change the status quo that they want. The second characteristic of the terrorist act is the intentional targeting of civilians. It means the terrorists deliberately target the civilian to achieve their objective. Civilian can be defined as a person who is not a member of the police or the armed force. It's because most of the terrorist group will intentionally target the civilian as the government of the attacked country give most value in the civilian life.
The third characteristic is material destruction and human casualties directed on symbolic targets. Dead girls, injured people, and threatened structures are all hallmarks of a terrorist act, which often directed against symbol targets. It may seem irrational, but it is truly planned and detailed, and this goes to the core characteristic of terrorist act. Terrorists, according to BIMAN, often target symbols representing the government or ethnic groups they despise the most. Said Purwanti, every act of terrorism is accompanied by a strong reason because this act is accompanied by the sacrifice of materials and life.
Communication is the key to success for conveying any message. However, to convey the terrorist ideology through networking is forbidden by the legal institution. There is such way to ensure the networking is well obtained by terrorists, such as through mass media and social media. Might also have your own networking based types such as multi-cell, which they spread only to the key leaders to spread the knowledge to their allies. Financial also being the backbone of them to ensure the mass violence can be achieved. Besides, the secrecy is well kept by them when they seek the needed information in any important meeting or interaction. Unfortunately, the networking also preserves them safe and sound in the institution as they protected by the government or non-governmental organization. In fact, that the existence of smartphone did help the spreaders of the false ideology from the terrorists.
Yes, Israel's attack on Palestinian civilians is an act of terrorism. This is because, based on our research, we think that Israel has the characteristic of a terrorist act. There are 4 characteristics of terrorist act that Israel has to show that the attack that they make to Palestinian civilians is an act of terrorism. The first characteristic of terrorist act that show them attacking Palestine civilians is an act of terrorist is their political objective. As we know that they want to promote their religion that is Jewish, so they wanted to change the status quo of Al-Aqsa Mosque. According to the Noor Arafah, a policy fellow with Al-Shabaka, she said that for the Jewish extremist group that they think that Al-Aqsa Mosque is their temple mount, so they urged the Israel government to attack Palestinian civilians. Thus, it showed that what has been done by Israel towards Palestinian civilians is an act of terrorism, as they wanted to seize the Al-Aqsa Mosque just for the political objective, that is change their status quo, then they attack people in Al-Aqsa Mosque and Palestinian worshippers.
Okay, next, Israel attack on Palestinians as a terrorist act is shown by intentional material destruction and human casualties directed at symbolic targets, which are the Palestinian Arabs. United Nations records revealed that Israel occupation authorities had demolished 300 buildings in the West Bank and East Jerusalem since the beginning of 2022. Furthermore, the massacre committed in 1948 by Jewish armed force known as Irgun Zayumi against the residents of Deir Yassin before the establishment of the State of Israel, where it has resulted in a significant property destruction and loss of life. Roslan in his journal writes that the Jewish leaders who orchestrated the massacre and ethnic cleansing as a terrorist. Israel's atrocities on Palestinians are unjustified. Therefore, Israel's act of destroying and murdering in Palestine is a terrorist act.
Let us look at the networking by the country of United States and Israel. The biggest support for these terrorist countries came from the well-known country, United States. It can be seen from the foreign policy by the United States to provide Israel an aid for them to enhance their capability of developing their armory equipment. From the year of 1946 until 2021, the investment had achieved a total of $107.8 million to make their defense system tough while going business. As according to the concept of realism, it is not wrong to make their country well protected, as it is the survival sense of the country to stay in this world. However, why did we still hear the civilians of Palestine being killed from time to time? The news from Al Jazeera stated that in the May 2021, reportedly a big numbers of killing and wounded Palestinian civilians causing from rocket launch, bombing and shooting. Crystal clear, they are terrorists for the misuse of the financially network being used to murder the innocent people, including children and women.
So recently it's been about the looking forward of the issue with the Israel attack on Palestine civilian and act of terrorism. So are there any solutions to this issue? The answer is yes. Based on our study, there are several solutions that can be carried out. The first is that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation should urge the United Nations Security Council to correct its mistakes and be more responsible in maintaining peace and security, especially for Palestine. They should act immediately by enforcing and tightening the rules of law against Israel. Next is by the independence of the United States and the allies should be stopped. They have such a good relationship with Israel. If all United States and allies stop giving original units and so on, this can weaken and threaten the Israeli military system. Another one is by threatening the empowerment of local and international bodies. This is to threaten the relation to increase awareness about the liberalization of Al-Aqsa Mosque and also all the Palestinian people, so that the Muslim community they can live freely without interference. Besides that, what will happen if Israel is a terrorist toward Palestine? So what will happen there is in the future? First of all, Palestine will experience more destruction of infrastructure and great economic losses such as water supply damage, more medical facilities and many more. Example event in Gaza, 100 buildings and supplies clean water to 2,000 people were damaged. Second, there will be more murder, which lead to the population to become even more displaced. Sadly, the Zionist army commits crime, violence and cruelty against the Palestinian people, just like in Jerusalem. The Israeli attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque killed dozens and injured the Palestinian people during the dawn prayer last Ramadan. And as for the last, it can cause dissatisfaction or disagreement between them due to different ideologies. This may lead to a fight from Israel, Palestine, especially in terms of the land that Israel wants from Palestine.
First and foremost, the recommendation to prevent terrorism from being spread is by staying abreast of national and regional development in the terrorism landscape to ensure tailored and evidence-based action are developed. This is to ensure that we will always keep up to date based on the terrorism activities, so that we are going to manage the great method to prevent it from exploding and becoming much worse to the society. We also can play a long-term strategy to create a balance in society between the peace and also the terrorism activity, so that it will not affect others' activity in the nation. Moreover, the way to overcome this issue is to support the development and implementation of legislation, policy and strategies against terrorism and its financing in line with international standard. And the best practice is to method will give a benefit in many ways, just like two-prop technique. Is help the nation to prevent these issues by implementing the sustainable policy according to certain issues that occur in that nation. This also help to increase the ability to governmental and non-governmental organizations to respond to cases of terrorism and terrorism financing and conformity with the rule of law and human rights norm. Furthermore, to make sure the plan goes smoothly and succeed as well as the target, we also need to support a whole of society approach to prevention of violence, extremism and terrorism. This is because if we want to prevent the terrorism issues, we need to be as one and unite to counterbalance the damage and also the threat from the terrorism action. When we build a great community to prevent these issues, it will give a good exposure to society to protect the nation from any terrorism activity. We also can enhance mechanism for regional and international cooperation. This will create a good ecosystem in the region itself to prevent the terrorism activity from going worldwide. In conclusion, the reason terrorism is still being so aggressive is because no single entity is in charge of maintaining world peace and prosperity. International terrorism occurs. Therefore, if a conflict arises between particular parties, no nation will provide protection to avert the war or attack, because no one will be held accountable and have the legal authority to prevent from getting worse. This demonstrates how little the United Nations can do when other nations are under terrorist attack, because other nations are also governed by veto-wielding superpowers like the United States of America, Russia, China and so on. Therefore, all nations, not just those with strong economies, must work together to restrict international terrorism and keep it there for everyone's benefit. Each of us must do our part to protect our country and the world peace, so that future generations might live better in our beautiful land. We can also unite and mitigate these issues to improve international relations and combat terrorism.